Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Metal video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Super Saiyan Goku Mini Daima and the Glorio unit that have come to, or will be coming to DBZ Dokkan Metal. We're going to preview them and of course take a look at their animations. So it seems like Goku and Glorio are both DFE lead quality units. We'll get to them, but you can kind of tell by the leader skill and the quality of animations is pretty good for both of them. So it doesn't look like there's going to be a banner unit, but more just double units here. The Goku is a transformation boost or Dragon Ball Seekers category unit, a lead of 170% for 30% for characters who also belong to Pure Saiyans or Accelerated Battle. He has Golden Warrior, Saiyan Warrior, Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, all in the family, prepared for battle, and fierce battle as his link sets, which is all more than fine. In terms of his passive, that is where things get a little bit crazy, as usual, incredibly long. But he activates the entrance animation upon his entry and reduces damage received by 20% and an extra 20% of evasion for one turn from his entry turn. He has Ki plus 3 attack and defense of 200%, reduces damage by 30%, high chance of evasion. So for that first turn, he has 50% damage reduction and 70% evasion. He gets an additional defense of 100% and chance of evasion plus 20% as the first or second attacker in the turn. So for that first turn, he'll have 90% evasion. He then gets an additional attack of 100% and launches an additional attack. There's a high chance of coming a super attack as his second attacker in the turn. You also get an additional 200% defense when receiving an attack. We've seen how effective this mechanic is on the Gotenks unit. He gets an additional attack of 50% up to 200% with each attack received or evaded, starting from his next attacking turn after he has evaded the 5th attack in battle, or starting from the 6th turn from his entry. He'll also get an additional attack and defense of 150%, 9%, and attacks effective against all types. So there's a lot to break down here. Basically, he has, from the beginning, that first turn 70% evasion, 50% damage reduction. If you were to place him in the first slot, he'll have 90% evasion, which is really quite high, plus that additional defensive boost. If you place him in the second slot, he becomes a more offensive based character. He has an additional 200% defense when receiving an attack, and that is multiplicative. We've seen that with the Gotenks and works really well. And then of course he builds up based on the amount of evasion. So kind of the goal here really is to have him maximize that first turn where he's really strong with his evasion, evade as many attacks as possible to quickly build up his attack, maximize his attack from early on, and obviously get him to do big damage. And you can then choose, if you're in a situation where you want to back the evasion, you can place him into the first slot. However, if you want to back rather his offense, you can place him in the second slot. In terms of his active skill, it can be activated after he's evaded attacks 5 or more times, or starting from 6th turn, and will massively raise his attack temporarily. You'll notice that there is no crit built into Goku's passive, so we do have to obviously consider the fact that we may want to give him a little bit of crit as well. So in terms of everything else, he has Golden Warrior, Saiyan Warrior Ace, as mentioned before. He has Transformation Boost, Dragon Ball Seekers, Pure Saiyans, Accelerated Battle, Time Travelers, Goku's Family, Super Saiyans, Total School Bundle, Buried and Child, Earthbred Fighters, Kamehameha, Super Saiyan 2, Empire Beyond Super Saiyan. And then he, pretty interestingly, greatly raises attack and defense for 3 turns, which is nice, and then raises allies attack by 41% for 2 turns. So this is pretty cool, and basically means that you're going to want to keep him on rotation in the first or second slot. It also means that that's maximizing his additional super attacks he could potentially get in the second slot, which means you definitely want to run him crit build. So that's Goku. Overall, actually not too complicated and a quite simple unit with a very straightforward kind of build. Crit, maybe with a little bit of evasion or additionals depending on how offensive or defensive minded you want to go. But with him being just a really good kind of solid all-rounder. There's situations where you're going to be able to use him as a first slot tank, backing that evasion, and there's going to be situations when fully built up that you're really just going to want to leave him in the second slot and have him absolutely massacre everyone. He doesn't have a lot of conditional requirements, which makes him quite easy to use, and with him being on a lot of categories, I think overall he looks pretty good. Next we come to Glorio. So Glorio is a new character from Daima. For anyone who's confused, he is part of the demon race in Daima, and you can see that by his leader skill. He leads demonic power for 200%, but also leads another 2 categories: battle awaits or accelerated battle for plus 30% for those who belong to Dragon Ball Seekers. Whenever you have a unit that is quite limited in terms of category, giving him 3 leads makes him much more viable, due to the fact that he's able to be functionally a lot easier to use, as you can use him as a lead for multiple categories. Brainiac, Solid Sports, Cold Judgment, Speedy Retribution, Shocking Speed, Master Magic, and Fierce Battle. Gives him a reliable, if not questionable, link set. Obviously, if you look at him, he is a super physical type unit, so he's not really going to link up with extreme units, so demonic power is a mixed category. Could potentially work for him, but really that link set is screaming Toa mirror type of link set, and that's not necessarily the best for him. In terms of passive, he activates the entrance animation upon the character's entry turn and launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super attack for 1 turn from his entry. So it doesn't seem like he has a lot built in to that initial early entrance. Goku had that extra evasion and damage reduction. He just has an additional attack, which is very interesting. Key plus 3, attack and defense of 200%. Launches an additional attack. There's a high chance of becoming super, high chance of evading enemy super attack, which is 50%. And launches another additional attack. There's a great chance of becoming a super attack as the second or third attacker in the turn. All allies keep plus 3 and attack and defense of 50% for 3 turns as the third attacker in the turn, and an additional 150% attack and defense when attacking. An additional attack and defense of 50% within the same turn with each attack performed, and an additional attack of 30% and chance of evasion up to 30% within the same turn with each super attack performed. Launches an additional super attack every time he performs a super attack 3 or more times in battle. So let's break this down, because it's actually quite clear how to use him. So basically, he is designed to function entirely as a floating support. So the reason he has a 3-turn support is it'll last for the next turn, the turn after, and then the next turn that he's on rotation, which is obviously great, meaning that you can constantly keep up a 50% multi-turn support, which is really impressive. On top of that as well, we have to factor in that he has a high chance of launching a super. He launches and has another great chance of launching a super as a second or third attacker in turn, so he already has the chance to fire off 3 super attacks, each of these of which would be giving him attack and defense of 50%, potentially, an additional attack and additional evasion chance, pushing him up to 80%. And of course, every time he launches a super attack, he'll be launching another one, which means in theory, he could be launching up to 4 alone from his passive. This screams to me that he could be incredibly good as a floating support, and is exactly how you want to build him, because it lets him mix with those extreme or super class units very easily, because his passive just says all allies. So there's no restriction. He can function on extreme based teams, super based teams. There's no limitation to him as long as he's on the category, which is exactly what you need when you have a guy that's only on 5 categories. So his super attack, Lightning Buster, can be activated after performing 3 or more super attacks, and will greatly raise his attack temporarily whilst disabling the enemy's action. And then he also greatly raises attack and defense 1 turn, and lowers attack and defense. Attack and defense plus 9% and 6% in battle. So he improves his attack and defense with each super, but you can see that they were scared of having him multiplied by the 30%, so they have specifically reduced how much he gains per super based solely on the fact that he essentially can raise his attack over and over and over and over and over again. So a very good unit, actually quite excellent. I think building him crit, again, definitely the way to go. And yeah, overall, just very good. So let's take a look at the animations, and yeah, but overall Goku and Glorio look really good and are really strong contenders to be great bait banners rounding out the end of the year. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I think the animations are pretty much top tier for these guys, especially the Goku. I think the Goku looks really insane, like really, really insane, like really, really insane. They replicated the Daima style really quite well, and I think Daima, for what it's worth, there are some faults in that maybe other people don't like in that, but I think for me, the animation and a lot of Daima has been excellent. And I think these animations specifically pull from really well animated scenes, and so for me, fundamentally are really, really good. So I think like ultimately what I can say is I think there is definitely like a really, really good situation for pretty much the whole animation situation here. Like I think these animations are crisp, they're clean, the voice acting is Japanese, but I think that's awesome. I actually really like the Japanese reference here. Obviously, people need to understand that Daima is in Japanese. So, like, obviously that's the source they're pulling from. It looks really, really good. Goku looks insane. And remember, most animations tend to look a lot better running at 2 times speed. So yeah, most animations genuinely look really, really good, and this is no different. So these continue to be really, really good, and yeah, this Goku looks superb.